You know what makes my blood absolutely boil? The fact that WWE has been sitting on this footage for weeks, maybe months, and they decided to keep it from us. While we were all watching John Cena's farewell tour announcement, while we were all getting emotional about his retirement, there was something happening backstage that WWE desperately didn't want you to see. And I'm talking about Jon Moxley, the man who walked away from WWE, the man who burned every bridge, supposedly having a private moment with John Cena at Saturday night's main event. But here's what's going to make you furious. This wasn't just a goodbye. This was something much deeper, much more controversial, and the implications of what was said in that room could change everything we thought we knew about both of these legends. And before WWE's legal team scrubs this from the internet entirely, we need to talk about every single frame of this footage, because what you're about to hear is going to shock you. Now, before we dive into this explosive revelation, we have a quick request for you. We are constantly working to improve our content to earn your love and support. That's why we would truly appreciate it if you could take a moment to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update here on Wrestling Zone Insider. Let me set the scene for you. Saturday night's main event, December 7th, the return of one of wrestling's most iconic brands. Everyone's focused on the matches, on the spectacle, on Cena's announcement that he's retiring in 2025. But while cameras were rolling in the arena, something was happening in the backstage area that nobody was supposed to witness. And somehow, this footage leaked. Now, I've watched this clip approximately 50 times since it surfaced, and every single time, I notice something new, something that adds another layer to this already complex situation. The footage is grainy, clearly shot from a phone, probably by a crew member who knew they were risking their job. You can hear the muffled sounds of the arena in the background, crowd reactions echoing through the corridors. And then you see him, Jon Moxley, in street clothes, not in gear, which immediately tells you he wasn't scheduled to appear. He's walking with purpose through the backstage area, and he's clearly looking for someone. Security tries to approach him, and here's where it gets interesting. Moxley waves them off, and they back down. Think about that for a second. This is a man who doesn't work for WWE anymore, who has spent years criticizing the company, who represents the competition, and yet security is letting him pass. That alone should tell you that someone higher up greenlit this visit. The camera follows Moxley from a distance as he approaches what appears to be a private dressing room. He knocks, waits a moment, and the door opens. John Cena, still in his ring gear from earlier in the night, appears in the doorway. And the look on Cena's face, that's what haunts me. It's not surprise. It's not confusion. It's recognition, like he was expecting this. Like they had planned this meeting. Cena steps aside, Moxley enters, and the door closes behind them. The footage goes dark for a moment, and you can hear the person filming curse under their breath, clearly trying to reposition to get a better angle. Here's your first trivia question for the comment section, and I want to see if you real fans know your history. In what year did Jon Moxley, then known as Dean Ambrose, debut on WWE's main roster, and which faction was he a part of? Drop your answers down below, and let's see who the true wrestling historians are in our community. When the camera angle stabilizes, and this is where the audio becomes crucial, you can hear voices through the door. It's muffled, but with some enhancement, and trust me, I've enhanced this audio more times than I can count. You can make out fragments of the conversation. And what you hear is going to blow your mind. Moxley's voice, unmistakable with that gravelly tone, says something along the lines of "You were right about everything, John. I should have listened." And Cena's response, quieter but firm, sounds like, "It's not about being right. It's about the journey you needed to take." Now, pause right there. What were they talking about? What was Cena right about? This takes us back to 2019, to the reports that surfaced about Cena trying to convince Ambrose not to leave WWE. There were whispers, never confirmed, that Cena had pulled Ambrose aside during his final weeks and had a heart-to-heart about legacy, about patience, about playing the long game within WWE system. Ambrose obviously didn't listen. He walked away, reinvented himself as Jon Moxley, became a cornerstone of All Elite Wrestling, and seemingly never looked back. So why now? Why is Moxley, 5 years later, standing in John Cena's dressing room at a WWE event, apparently admitting that Cena was right? The wrestling world has been in absolute chaos since this footage leaked. Social media exploded. The hashtag MoxleyWWE return trend worldwide within hours. AEW fans are panicking, wondering if their top star is about to jump ship. WWE fans are speculating wildly about what this means for Cena's retirement tour. And both companies have been suspiciously silent, which, if you know anything about wrestling politics, silence speaks volumes. When companies don't issue immediate denials, when they let speculation run wild, it usually means there's something real happening behind the scenes. Let's talk about the context surrounding this meeting, because context is everything in professional wrestling. John Cena announced his retirement tour for 2025, a year-long farewell that will take him through multiple premium live events and hopefully culminate at WrestleMania. This is a man who has been the face of WWE for 2 decades, who has transcended wrestling to become a legitimate Hollywood star, but who has always maintained that wrestling is his first love. Cena's legacy is secure. He's got nothing left to prove. But here's what's interesting about his retirement announcement. He was very specific about wanting to put over the next generation, wanting his final matches to mean something, wanting to go out on his back making stars. Now, enter Jon Moxley, a man who left WWE feeling creatively stifled, who felt like the company's system was crushing his soul. He's been incredibly vocal about his frustrations with WWE's creative process, with the scripting, with the corporate structure. He's built an incredible career outside of WWE, proving that he didn't need them to be successful. He's been AEW World Champion multiple times, his main event countless shows. He's shown the world that Dean Ambrose was just a fraction of what Jon Moxley could be. So why would he come back? What could possibly bring him back to the place he so vocally left behind? And here's where the theory gets absolutely wild, and stick with me because this is based on multiple sources I've been talking to over the past few days. What if this meeting wasn't about Moxley returning to WWE full-time? What if this was about something much more specific? What if John Cena wants Jon Moxley to be one of his final opponents? Think about the story that could tell. The student who rejected the teacher's wisdom, who went out into the world and found success on his own terms, returning to face the man who tried to guide him. That's compelling storytelling. That's the kind of match that would have layers, that would mean something beyond just 2 guys hitting each other. We have a quick request for you. We are constantly working to improve our content to earn your love and support. That's why we would truly appreciate it if you could take a moment to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update here on Wrestling Zone Insider. But there are massive complications with this scenario. Jon Moxley is currently under contract with AEW. He's not just any talent there, he's a foundational pillar of that company. Tony Khan built AEW partially on the strength of ex-WWE stars who felt they could do better elsewhere, and Moxley was the first major name to make that jump and prove it was the right decision. If Moxley goes back to WWE, even for one match, even for a special appearance, it undermines everything AEW has built. It sends a message that WWE is still the final destination, that all roads lead back to Vince McMahon's house. Well, Triple H's house now, but you get the point. However, and this is crucial, there is precedent for cross-promotional dream matches. We've seen it with New Japan Pro Wrestling talents appearing in WWE. We've seen Forbidden Door broken down in various ways over the past few years. The wrestling landscape has changed dramatically. What was impossible 5 years ago might be very possible today, especially if the money is right and the creative makes sense for all parties involved. And let's be honest, a John Cena versus Jon Moxley match would make an ungodly amount of money. The pay-per-view buys, the media attention, the mainstream crossover appeal of having Cena involved, it's a promoter's dream. Here's your second trivia question, and this one's a bit tougher. Jon Moxley has held world championships in 3 major promotions. Can you name all 3 promotions in the correct chronological order of when he won his first world title in each? Let me see those answers in the comments. This will separate the casual fans from the diehards. Now, let's analyze the body language in the footage, because in wrestling, body language tells you more than words ever could. When Moxley enters that room, his shoulders are slightly hunched. This is a man who typically carries himself with aggressive confidence, who walks like he owns every building he enters. But in this footage, there's something different. There's a vulnerability there, a humanness that we rarely see from the purveyor of violence. And Cena, when he opens that door, his posture is open, welcoming. There's no tension in his shoulders, no guardedness. This isn't 2 rivals meeting. This is 2 people who have mutual respect, possibly even friendship, having a private conversation that we were never meant to witness. The meeting lasts approximately 12 minutes based on the timestamps. 12 minutes where the wrestling world held its breath. 12 minutes where 2 of the most significant figures in modern wrestling history discuss something that nobody outside that room knows for certain. When Moxley exits, and this is crucial, he's not alone. John Cena walks out with him, hand on Moxley's shoulder, and they stand in the hallway for another moment. Cena says something else, the audio is too distant to pick up, and Moxley nods. They embrace, a brief but genuine hug, and then Moxley walks away. Cena watches him leave, and there's this expression on his face, it's almost pride mixed with sadness. Like a father watching his son leave home, knowing he's ready but wishing he could keep him close. The person filming follows Moxley as he exits the building. Security escorts him, but again, it's not aggressive. It's professional, almost protective. Moxley gets into a black SUV, and he's gone. And that's where the footage ends. No dramatic declaration, no announcement, just a goodbye that might mean everything or might mean nothing at all. Social media detectives have been working overtime since this footage dropped. People have been analyzing Moxley's social media for clues. His last post on Twitter was 3 days before Saturday night's main event, a cryptic message that said some conversations need to happen face to face. At the time, nobody thought much of it. Now, that post has been screenshot and analyzed from every possible angle. Was he announcing this meeting? Was he preparing fans for something? Or are we all reading too much into a random thought? AEW has a major pay-per-view coming up in a few months, and Moxley is currently involved in a significant storyline. He's scheduled 4 matches, 4 angles, 4 programs that extend well into the new year. If he's planning a departure or even a temporary leave for a WWE appearance, AEW would need to adjust those plans significantly. And so far, there's been no indication of any change in direction for his character. He appeared on AEW programming the Wednesday after Saturday night's main event, and he performed exactly as expected. No hints, no teases, nothing to suggest anything was different. But here's what has me convinced something is brewing. Multiple sources, and I'm talking about people who have been reliable in the past, have told me that there have been conversations between WWE and AEW about potential collaboration. Nothing concrete, nothing official, but exploratory conversations about what might be possible. Wrestling is a business, and if both companies can make money while giving fans something they want to see, why wouldn't they at least explore the possibility? The territories are dead. The Monday Night Wars are over. This is a different era, and flexibility might be the key to everyone's success. Here's your third trivia question, and this one's for the hardcore Cena fans. John Cena has won the WWE Championship or World Heavyweight Championship a record-tying number of times. How many championship reigns has John Cena had, and who does he tie with this record? Drop your knowledge in the comments. Let's talk about John Cena's mindset going into his retirement year. This is a man who has been incredibly thoughtful about his legacy. He's given countless interviews about what he wants his final chapter to look like. He's talked about elevating young talent, about making his losses matter, about going out in a way that serves the business rather than just serving his ego. That's rare in wrestling, especially for someone at Cena's level. Most top stars want to go out on top, want their final moment to be holding a championship or standing tall. Cena has consistently said he wants the opposite. He wants to be remembered for what he did for others, not what he did for himself. So imagine the story of Cena versus Moxley within that context. You've got the ultimate company man facing the ultimate rebel. You've got the guy who stayed and thrived within the system facing the guy who left and thrived outside of it. You've got the polished Hollywood superstar facing the gritty underground fighter. The contrast writes itself. And more importantly, a loss to Moxley would mean something. It would validate Moxley's journey, it would prove that his decision to leave was right, it would cement his legacy as someone who didn't need WWE to be great but who could still come back and conquer on his own terms. But there's a darker theory circulating, and I need to address it because it's gaining traction in certain corners of the internet. Some people believe this meeting had nothing to do with a future match. They believe Moxley was there to tell Cena something personal, something about the business, something that couldn't be said over the phone or through intermediaries. There are whispers about backstage politics, about power struggles between WWE and AEW, about larger issues that we as fans don't see. And maybe Moxley, who has always been honest to a fault, who has never been afraid to speak truth to power, felt he needed to warn Cena about something. Or maybe Cena needed to warn Moxley. We don't know, and that uncertainty is what makes this footage so tantalizing and so frustrating. We have a quick request for you. We are constantly working to improve our content to earn your love and support. That's why we would truly appreciate it if you could take a moment to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update here on Wrestling Zone Insider. The wrestling media has been scrambling for official comment. Dave Meltzer addressed it briefly on Wrestling Observer Radio, noting that he had heard whispers of communication between Moxley and WWE but couldn't confirm specifics. PW Insider reported that multiple WWE sources claimed to have no knowledge of Moxley being in the building, which is obviously false given the footage, which means they were instructed to deny or they genuinely weren't informed, both of which are telling. Sean Ross Sapp from Fightful said he was working on the story but needed to verify sources before reporting anything definitive. The fact that even the most connected journalists in wrestling are being cautious tells you how sensitive this situation is. AEW silence is particularly interesting. Tony Khan, who is usually very active on social media, especially when it comes to defending his company or promoting his stars, has said absolutely nothing about this footage. No denial, no confirmation, no attempt to control the narrative. That's not like him. Khan is typically very protective of his brand and very responsive to anything that might threaten AEW's position in the industry. His silence suggests either he's working on something behind the scenes that he doesn't want to jeopardize, or he's been caught completely off guard and is figuring out how to respond. On the WWE side, the response has been equally muted. Triple H, who runs creative for the company, hasn't addressed it. Paul Levesque has been asked about it in interviews, and he's deflected with his usual political skill, neither confirming nor denying, just saying that Saturday night's main event was a huge success and they are focused on delivering great content moving forward. That's corporate speak for "I'm not telling you anything." Nick Khan, WWE's president, has similarly stayed quiet. Even Cena himself, who is typically accessible to media, has not commented on the footage. This coordinated silence from all parties involved is the biggest tell. In wrestling, when everyone shuts up simultaneously, something real is happening. When it's just rumors or speculation, companies are usually quick to kill the story. When there's legitimate smoke, they let it burn because it builds interest and engagement. And the interest in this story has been astronomical. Every wrestling website, every YouTube channel, every podcast has been covering this non-stop. It's become the biggest story in wrestling right now, overshadowing actual matches and actual programming, which is both fascinating and slightly concerning. Let's consider the logistics of making a Cena vs Moxley match happen. First, you'd need AEW to agree to loan out their top star. What would WWE need to give in return? Money, obviously, but it might need to be more than that. Would WWE need to send talent to AEW? Would there need to be some kind of promotional partnership? Would AEW get to co-promote the event? These are complex negotiations that would involve lawyers, agents, corporate executives, and probably levels of bureaucracy that would make your head spin. Second, you'd need to figure out where this match happens. Does it happen at a WWE Premium Live event, giving WWE full control? Does it happen at an AEW pay-per-view, which seems unlikely given Cena's status? Does it happen at a special independently promoted show, something neutral ground? Each option has implications for who makes money, who controls the presentation, and who gets to claim the victory, so to speak, from the collaboration. Third, and this is crucial, you'd need both wrestlers to agree. We know Cena is interested based on this footage and based on his stated goals for his retirement tour. But is Moxley genuinely interested, or was this conversation about something else entirely? Moxley has spent years building his reputation outside WWE. Would one match be worth potentially damaging that reputation? Would it be worth the inevitable backlash from hardcore AEW fans who would see it as a betrayal? Or would Moxley view it as the ultimate validation, returning to WWE not as a crawler begging for work, but as a conquering hero who can now walk in that building on his own terms? Here's your fourth trivia question, and this one requires you to think back to some Shield history. Jon Moxley, as Dean Ambrose, was part of the Shield alongside Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. At which pay-per-view event did the Shield have their final match together before the group originally disbanded? Give me that answer in the comments. The fan reaction to this footage has been split right down the middle, which honestly is exactly what you'd expect. AEW loyalists are calling Moxley a traitor, saying he's sold out, claiming he's abandoning the company that gave him creative freedom. WWE fans are excited, saying this proves WWE is still the top of the mountain, that everyone eventually wants to come back. And then there are fans like me, who just want to see great wrestling and great stories, who don't care about corporate loyalty and just want to be entertained. The tribalism in wrestling fandom has gotten exhausting, and this situation has amplified it to an almost unbearable degree. But here's what I keep coming back to. That audio, those fragments of conversation where Moxley says you were right about everything. What was Cena right about? Was it about legacy? Was it about the importance of WWE's platform? Was it about patience? Was it about something completely unrelated to wrestling? The ambiguity is maddening, and it's absolutely brilliant from a storytelling perspective. Whether this was intentional or accidental, whether this footage was leaked or planted, it has created a narrative that has everyone talking. There's also the personal dimension to consider. By all accounts, Moxley and Cena have always had a good relationship. During Ambrose's WWE run, Cena was known as someone who would help younger talent, who would offer advice, who would go to bat for people backstage. It's entirely plausible that Cena became a mentor figure to Ambrose, and that when Ambrose decided to leave, it hurt Cena on a personal level. Not because he thought Ambrose was wrong, but because he worried about him, cared about his well-being, wanted him to succeed. And now, 5 years later, Moxley coming back to have this conversation could be about closure, about showing Cena that he's okay, that he made it, that the worry was unnecessary. From a pure business perspective, this potential match is a goldmine waiting to be tapped. Think about the promotional material. The video packages practically write themselves. You'd have footage of the Shield's dominance, of Cena's legendary title reigns, of Ambrose's departure, of Moxley's rise in AEW, all building to this collision of philosophies. You'd have the mainstream media covering it because Cena brings that Hollywood credibility. You'd have the hardcore wrestling fans invested because Moxley represents their values. It's the perfect storm of casual appeal and hardcore credibility. We have a quick request for you. We are constantly working to improve our content to earn your love and support. That's why we would truly appreciate it if you could take a moment to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update here on Wrestling Zone Insider. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. What if none of this happens? What if this footage really was just a private goodbye between two professionals who respect each other? What if there's no match, no angle, no grand return? Would we all feel foolish for speculating so wildly? Maybe, but that's the beauty of wrestling fandom. The speculation, the theories, the what-ifs are often as entertaining as the actual product. We're storytelling creatures, and wrestling gives us the framework to tell stories about stories. There's also the possibility that this conversation was about Cena's Hollywood career. Moxley has done some acting work. He was in a show, and he's expressed interest in doing more. Maybe Cena was giving him advice about navigating that world, about balancing wrestling with acting, about maintaining authenticity while working in mainstream entertainment. That would certainly be a conversation that needed to happen face to face, and it would explain the emotional weight we saw in the footage. Or maybe, and this is pure speculation but bear with me, maybe Moxley was there representing AEW in some capacity. Maybe Tony Khan sent him to feel out WWE about potential working relationships. Moxley, despite his rebel image, is apparently a very sharp businessman. He understands the industry, he understands politics, and he's trustworthy. If AEW wanted to send an emissary to WWE to have unofficial conversations, Moxley would be a logical choice. And Cena, as someone who straddles both wrestling and corporate worlds, would be a perfect person for Moxley to approach. The timing of this meeting is also worth examining. It happened at Saturday Night's Main Event, a brand that WWE is trying to revive as a special quarterly attraction. It's not a regular weekly show, it's not even a monthly pay-per-view. It's something unique, something nostalgic, something that exists outside the normal WWE structure. If WWE and AEW were going to collaborate on something, Saturday Night's Main Event would be an ideal platform because it's already positioned as special, as different, as something where anything can happen. Let's talk about what this means for Cena's retirement tour moving forward. He's scheduled to appear at Royal Rumble, potentially at Elimination Chamber, definitely at WrestleMania, and at various other shows throughout 2025. Each appearance is supposed to be meaningful, supposed to matter. If a match with Moxley is in the cards, it wouldn't happen immediately. It would need to be built properly, promoted heavily, and positioned as one of Cena's marquee retirement matches. My guess, if this is happening, is that we're looking at SummerSlam or WrestleMania as the potential dates. Those are the big shows, the ones that casual fans check back in for, the ones that generate mainstream media coverage. Here's your fifth and final trivia question, and this one's for the ultimate fans. John Cena's famous catchphrase is "You can't see me," but do you know where he first regularly used this phrase? Was it during his rapper gimmick, his Doctor of Thugonomics character, or earlier? Let me know in the comments, and if you've gotten all 5 trivia questions right, you're a true Wrestling Zone Insider legend. The wrestling business has always been built on secrets, on worked shoots, on blurred lines between reality and fiction. What we're witnessing right now with this footage is the modern evolution of that tradition. In the old days, wrestlers would protect the business by never breaking character, by maintaining kayfabe at all costs. Today, the business is protected through strategic ambiguity, through letting fans peek behind the curtain just enough to create intrigue without revealing the full picture. This footage, whether accidental or intentional, is a masterclass in that modern approach. I've been doing this wrestling journalism thing for years, and I can honestly say this is one of the most fascinating stories I've covered. Not because of what we know, but because of what we don't know. The uncertainty, the possibilities, the potential outcomes are all compelling in their own right. And regardless of what happens next, whether we get Cena versus Moxley or whether this was just a private moment between friends, the conversation itself has been valuable for the industry. One thing that's become clear through all of this is that Jon Moxley's decision to leave WWE, whatever you think about it, was the right decision for him. He's become a bigger star, a more complete performer, and apparently a happier person by following his instincts and trusting himself. Whether he ever returns to WWE for one match or never steps foot in that building again, is already won. He proved he didn't need them. And paradoxically, that's exactly what might make a return so compelling. He'd be coming back not out of necessity, but out of choice. Not because he failed elsewhere, but because he succeeded everywhere else and now wants to complete the circle. And John Cena, man, what a way to potentially approach retirement. Instead of just facing the current roster, instead of just putting over the younger generation, imagine if he also used his farewell tour to heal old wounds, to bridge divides, to bring back people who left and prove that WWE is big enough to welcome everyone home. That would be a legacy that transcends championships and match ratings. That would be leadership, mentorship, and vision all rolled into one. The footage has now been viewed millions of times across various platforms. It's been analyzed frame by frame, enhanced, slowed down, sped up, and dissected in every way possible. And still, we don't have definitive answers. We have theories, we have speculation, we have hope, we have fear, but we don't have certainty. And maybe that's exactly where we're supposed to be right now. Maybe the journey of not knowing is part of the story. Wrestling has always been about suspension of disbelief, about investing emotionally in predetermined outcomes, about caring deeply about characters and stories that we know are fictional. This situation is taking that dynamic and flipping it. Now we have something that's real, or at least appears to be real, and we're trying to figure out how much of it is worked, how much is shoot, and where the line between the two exists. It's wrestling in its purest form, just in a completely unexpected way. As I wrap this up, I want to hear from you. What do you think is really going on here? Do you believe Jon Moxley is planning a WWE return? Do you think this was just a personal goodbye between two friends? Do you think there's something bigger happening behind the scenes that we're not seeing yet? And most importantly, would you want to see John Cena versus Jon Moxley? Drop all your thoughts, theories, and hot takes in the comments below. This is the kind of story that benefits from collective analysis, from the community coming together to piece things together. And remember, we're here on Wrestling Zone Insider because we love this business, because we love the stories, because we love the speculation and the surprises. Whatever happens next with Moxley and Cena, we'll be here to cover it, analyze it, and discuss it with all of you. This is why we do what we do, for moments like this that remind us why we fell in love with wrestling in the first place. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Wrestling Zone Insider, and hit that bell icon so you never miss an update. We've got huge things coming, and you're not going to want to miss a single moment. Until next time, keep watching, keep speculating, and keep loving this beautiful, insane, unpredictable business we call professional wrestling.